Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here with another review for you. This time I'm going to be talking about episode 25 of season 1 of Young Justice, entitled The Usual Suspects. This was a killer good episode, so much to talk about, so I'm just going to dive right in. Okay, first of all, it looks like we've got yet another member of the on the team. This is Rocket. I believe this is the first time that we've seen her, but she was mentioned earlier in the episode where the Justice League was doing their recruitment drive as a possible Justice League member by, I think it was Wonder Woman, and supported in this by Hawkwoman, or Hawkgirl, I think I should say, and Black Canary. But anyway, so this is our first time seeing her interacting with the team. Rocket is a character that I've only ever read 2 or 3 comics that she was in, so I don't really know her that well. That was the old Rift Between Worlds comics that DC and Milestone did somewhere back in like around the mid 90s. And the character seemed okay to me. I didn't have any huge impression about her one way or the other. I did sort of like the scene. There was one scene between her and Superboy where Superboy starts flirting with her, and she goes, "Oh," and she responds like, "Yeah, I'd be interested in going out with you." And Superboy's like, "Really? Well, that was easy." And she goes, "Well, yeah, not many guys are willing to ask out girls who are pregnant." Yeah, short little historical note for you. Rocket ended up becoming the first single teenage mom superhero in comics. Okay, so I don't think we're going to be seeing that on the show, but it was a pretty funny moment. Anyway, Rocket here. Um, Again, I don't really have an opinion about her one way or the other. It's just a little too soon for me to tell. I do like her costume. It's sort of an update from what she has in the comics, but it's one that makes sense since if you look at her old one, which was this really pretty decent one, but very, very, very rooted in the 90s, the time she came from. So, I'm looking forward to Rocket kind of getting more of a feel for her. One little quick thing. I did appreciate that Cat Grant was the reporter at the Justice League thing. Again, that's another little nod for the comic book fans out there. Again, she's kind of different. In the comics, she's a Daily Planet reporter. Here, she's a TV reporter. But I still love the little touches. Now, let me get to the real juice of the story. This is where so much, the whole mole thing, everybody, Superboy, Artemis, Miss Martian keeping secrets from the team, it all comes to a head here, and it comes to a head wonderfully. And I like that it's Superboy. I think this is very important. It's Superboy who's the one that makes the step to come clean first. Now remember, at the very beginning of the episode, Superman is talking about the Justice League and about how they stand for truth and justice and liberty. Now, we all kind of know Superman as being the guy who says truth, justice, and the American way. Well, folks, if you're not a fan of the comics, let me tell you something. DC Comics basically kind of had Superman stop saying that like around the mid to late 1980s. So ever since then, it's pretty much been either just truth or justice, or truth, justice, and freedom, or liberty, or something like that. Kind of, I think just basically, hey, Superman's not a nationalist. Okay, that's as political as I'm going to get on that. Let's not get into an argument there. But anyways, one of the big things about Superman is that he's big on truth. And again, it's very symbolically important that it is Superboy who is the first one to come out and admit the truth. And, as the old saying goes, the truth shall set you free. And this is what it does. As soon as he dubs that, Artemis is finally able to come out and tell everybody that, yeah, my mom's a retired villain, my dad is Sportsmaster, and my sister is Cheshire. And of course, we're followed by that of Megan admitting that she's being blackmailed by Queen Bee, and that she's really a white Martian. And the great thing about all of this is that while the team is certainly surprised by what they find out, everybody, despite their worst fears, is accepted. I mean, the truth sets you free. It's the lies and the fear that were keeping all of them down. And once they admit the truth, they're freed. They're not just freed, they're empowered by the truth. And by embracing truth, they free themselves and they gain the power to do justice, truth, and justice. Beautiful. Beautiful symbolism. I love it. I also like that they acknowledge that like Robin knew what was going on with Artemis um, for quite a while. And, if you go back to where he caught her, running around Gotham City and she tries these incredibly lame excuses, it's really not such a surprise that Robin, possibly at the behest of Batman, maybe, I don't suppose we'll know, checked into Artemis's background. And, again, nobody was really down on her about this. And I think that's fair because in comics, a lot of heroes have, started off on the wrong side of the tracks. It's true at DC, it's true at Marvel. I mean, heck, it's especially true at Marvel. Look at characters like Hawkeye and Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. But again, we're talking DC here. Now, one thing that really, really caught my attention was what happened after Megan revealed that she was really a white Martian. That was the one I was really, really concerned about. And I didn't see it coming that Superboy had known all along after their I love the fact that he actually used the word mind meld. Okay, so apparently the Cadmus guys were Star Trek fans, which is kind of fitting. If you actually read the comics, one of the first things he says in like the early issues is the first memory he ever has is of like some old Bugs Bunny-ish cartoon that somebody had programmed in there to kind of make him a little bit more like a normal kid. But okay, I'm getting off on a wrong track here. Now, one of the reasons that Megan being a white Martian is so interesting because, again, I have a feeling they'll probably get into this more in season 2. But in the comics, white Martians are different from green Martians, like Martian Manhunter, in that they were incredibly warlike. They wanted to be conquerors. They wanted to go out there and just start taking over as much of the galaxy as they could. And naturally, they planned to start with Earth. The Green Martian, and my knowledge of Martian Manhunter history is not the greatest, so if I get something wrong here, please let me know in the comics, but I'm going by my memory as I best remember it, is that the Green Martians subdued them and imprisoned them in the Phantom Zone. Apparently, Kryptonians weren't the only ones with access to the Phantom Zone. And there was some issue of the comic, I forget where it was, I can't remember if it was like she got hit with like mind control, like some kind of psychic villain, or if it was Scarecrow's fear gas or something like that. And we basically saw that in the comics, Miss Martian, her greatest fear was basically having the other heroes and her teammates turn on her, say, you're a white Martian, we can't trust you, and tossing her into the Phantom Zone. And, here we see, even though we don't get the whole history of the Martians, we don't even hear the word the Phantom Zone mentioned, you can see that that is probably somewhere in the back of her mind. In fact, probably not very far in the back of her mind. And yeah, just the fact that when Superboy goes over there and he takes her hand, even though she's this weird, crazy, really weird looking alien, that even her real appearance even freaked out her teammates. And he's cool with it. He is completely cool with it. And that folks, that was honestly beautiful in my mind. That is something that really goes to show you just how good this show is. That we can not only get, really good storytelling, we can get really good action, we can get really good comedy. This is a show that can actually create a moment of beauty. Real, genuine beauty. And that's something that in any kind of fiction is very difficult and very rare. So much respect to the show for that. Okay, let's pop over and talk about Artemis and Wally. I like how they brought it back early on in the episode that Wally was still pissed off about what Artemis had done down in Louisiana. And then after she lets the truth be known, it all comes full circle. And Wally, as soon as the truth is known that she's admitted this, Wally is literally the first one standing beside her, saying, you know what? This doesn't matter. We still trust you. You're still one of us. You're still our friend. And that was just wonderful. That was exactly the emotional payoff that we needed. This is exactly emotionally and storytelling what we needed and what I think we deserved. Okay, I'm kind of going. I'm kind of losing my train of thought there. So let's move on to something else. Um, okay, so let's talk about a few of the other little things that are going on here. Okay, another character who we saw come back. She didn't get any lines, but Shimmer was back. Remember her from the episode Drop Zone? It had been a while, but she's there helping the Riddler and her brother Mammoth and the nameless goons who sort of look like the Rocket Reds from the comics uh, fight the team. So I was glad that they're sort of doing some continuity with her because she is sort of a reoccurring in the comics villain and opponent of the Teen Titans, who are basically the Young Justice of are what Young Justice are this world's version of. So again, plus Shimmer's just always one of those little side villains I've always been kind of fond of, mostly just because she sort of looks like a Suicide Girl. But anyway, yeah, the Riddler, he made me laugh. I loved how he starts screaming about, like, no, don't take me back to Arkham, put me in Bel Rev. And, he kind of does raise a good point, because in the comics he's always getting tossed into Arkham, even though the only, mental, issue that they can seem to slap on him is obsessive-compulsive disorder. And really, it's just a convenient way for the comic book writers to have him, there in Arkham with all the other Batman villains for whenever they want to bounce them off each other. Okay, it's dumb, but it's a conceit that I will certainly allow the comics. Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to mention about the Artemis and Kid Flash is at the very end, her giving him her dad's mask as a souvenir. Again, just sort of really emphasizing the emotional connection between Wally and Artemis. And one thing that's the hallmark of good shows like this is that you can care just as much about sort of as they'd like to put it, the soap opera elements of the show, just as much as you can care about the heroes putting the hurt on the bad guys. And in this case, that is certainly true. Okay, let's move on to the revelation. Red Arrow is the mole. Okay, I feel a little bit like this was a cheat. Like, this sort of cheat that they always like to pull on the fans of the comics. And, dude, he was a member of the team for, 2 episodes. It just doesn't feel like Red Arrow counts. Although, I did like the way that they pulled this. What they did at the end with him infecting Batman, the Justice League bowing down to Vandal Savage. I was genuinely surprised by all that. It makes a really nice bookend for this episode. Makes what's certainly going to be happening next episode. The youth versus their elders. Very symbolic, very cool. And what I'm really especially interested in is, again, from the comics, Vandal Savage has basically been around since the caveman days, to give you the short version. He's fathered many children, and those children, of course, have had many descendants of their own. In the comics, one of those descendants is Roy Harper, aka Red Arrow. Is this going to come up in the show? Maybe, maybe not. But it's interesting, and it's there. So I'll just point that out for you. And let me see. Is there anything else? No, I think that covers everything I had to say about this show. So far, stellar first season. Next episode should be absolutely fantastic. I am insanely looking forward to it. So until then, guys, next time I will see you. As always, please comment, rate, and subscribe. And as I have said before, you can also follow me as Hoosier Jedi on Twitter, so you can keep up with when I'm posting these videos as soon as possible, if that's your thing. Until next time, I will talk to you later. Have a good one.